Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. So in this episode we're going to be talking about the jig which you would have built, and then we're also going to be talking about fitting the keel in and installing the frames and getting them all in place, and then we'll start the actual build really. In the previous issues they did show you how to build a jig if you wanted to. I've actually bought a jig, so this is my jig. Now I will just show you this. This is what I bought. I think you can get this on Amazon. Comes in a big section. You get the baseboard, you get the actual jig section here. Just get the right thing. So the sections are adjustable. So this base section is also interchangeable. So it's used for various size boats that you're building. So you can go for a smaller boat or a larger one. These little sections actually support the keel, so these are interchangeable between the different sections. So there's five sections which you can support the jigs. These go on, and then all you have to do is just loosen one side and then push it together. That will support the keel. And then if you have these sections, these go at either end. There's two of these which fit either end of the keel. One will support the keel at the transom, one will support the keel at the bow. So if you have a look at these will support, these rotate round. Once you've put the keel in, these can be tightened up, so the keel is fully supported either end and gripped. So these can be rotated round, these can be adjusted as well, moved up and moved down, these sections. So this is a very useful bit of kit. You also have with this, and what you would have built is this section here, and what this allows you to do is, as you are building the frames, this can be moved along and secured along the board. It's got the screws in, as I say, and they screw into the various holes along as you're doing your build. What this allows you to do is, as you're putting your frames in, you can line everything up, you can pull this section down. So this section here in the middle, that will move down onto the keel. That will stop. Once that's onto the keel, that will stop the keel from moving. You then place your frame in, make sure it's perfectly level, clamp the frame with, just to hold it as it's gluing, let that dry, and then that section can then be moved over to the next frame, and then once all the frames are in place, this can actually come off and put to one side, out the way. Very useful, and this is really good. This is the first time I've actually used the jig. So far it's been absolutely brilliant. So that is the jig, and hopefully you'll be using your jig exactly the same way to get your boat squared up correctly. If the frames are out of alignment, that is can be quite a nuisance later on, because obviously it's going to affect your dimensions, because if the boat is twisted, when the planks go on, they're going to be twisted and it will have a knock-on effect. So you need to ensure that this part is correct when you're actually putting your keel in and setting your frames up. Hi guys, so unfortunately I lost a little section of the videos on the build, which was initially the dry fitting of the frames into the keel itself. So all it really was is what you want to do is test fit the frames. So each of the frames will go into the keel. So I will just quickly show you what I mean in relation to the dry fit. So I've got a little bit section of the keel which hasn't had anything put in. So what I want to do is just talk about that section, but that's what you would do with each of the frames. Okay guys, so this section is actually the rear, so it is the transom of the ship. So I've not fitted this one in yet, but it's the same concept for each of the frames. So if you just imagine this as the frame, what you want to do is just put it in, make sure it does go in nicely. So if you see that, it will go in nicely. If it is stiff going in, obviously you will need to just sand the gap on the frame. Also give the gap on sand the gap on the frame. Also give it a little sand using a file. You can use a file just in there, just give it a quick sand and keep trying. What I did with the frames, at the top of the frame where the gap is, as it goes up, I marked with the pencil, and then at the top of the or the bottom of the keel, this section here, just this section here, I put a little line on each of the frames. In the dry fit, if you can see what I've done is where the gap is on the frame and the gap on the keel, I've marked a little line on both, so that the line on the keel is where the bottom gap is, the hole, where the frame will slide into, and then at the top of the frame I've also marked a little one, a little mark as well. So I've done that on each of the frames and pushed it down. So you want to ensure that the lines match up, so that will ensure that the frame is fully into the slot on the keel. That is a good way to ensure that all the frames are fully in position before you glue them. As I say, these will be tight, so what you want to do is dry fit them first, and then once you're satisfied, obviously take them out and then put the glue in place. So we'll get on with gluing those in place, and then we'll go from there. We were fitting all the frames in, they were being glued in place, so they are now all in and secured. So I will show you what that looks like now in the jig. So as you can see, they've all been secured in. I've used the little block technique, as mentioned in the magazines, the square blocks, so that actually keeps the frames from moving. So some have got them on the front, some have got them on the back. As I said previously, I've not glued number 12 in because there is some work to do on that. So we'll be doing that with these issues, which are the issues 10 to 15. So, but before we go on to that, we'll do the work that we need to do on the frame, and then we'll continue. So that is all solid now, and all I'm happy with that. So just as you can see, that is all ready to go. Okay guys, so before I start fitting the decks from issues number 12 and 14, what I want to do is I want to complete the frame 12 and the transom part, which is all the bits in issue number 15. So what we'll do is we will cut the parts out of the frets. So we'll just get those handy. So we've got the parts here, so what we'll do is we'll just cut these out of the frets, get them sanded, and then we'll start putting them in place. So I'll come back to you once that's they're all cut out and sanded. Okay guys, so what we've done is we've removed the items from the frets. So here we have the stern lower deck, here we have the stern upper deck, we have 2 brackets, and then we have 2 central struts which go there, and then we also have 2 rear struts here. So what we'll do is we will assemble this so you can see what that looks like, following the instructions in the magazine. Okay guys, so as always we'll just do a quick dry fit. So the struts number 34 will sit into the lower deck, and then make sure that they're pushed as far forward as possible in the slot. Looks like there will be a small gap here, but that is going to be expected. You'd also need to make sure that when you do glue that we check they are at the 90-degree angle that we need. So then once they are fitted, we'll let those dry. They will then go, I believe they will fit in like so. So those little lugs will fit into the holes on the frame number 12. So again, just make sure, just do the dry fit, make sure they do fit okay, because it's going to be a bit of a struggle once you've assembled it all. So just make sure those 2 frames do go into the relevant slots, so you're not going to have any issues later when you come to fitting them. So that's what they'll look like once they're in. I believe that will be going on there like that. And so that would be the lower deck once they're in anyway. So it will look something once it's all on. It will look something like that once it's all glued in place. So that would be the lower deck, the part of the gallery, the stern assembly. So now what we'll do is we'll just glue these in place. Okay, as gluing, make sure you get your set square, just to make sure that it is a 90-degree angle. Clear up any excess glue on the seam. So if you want to add a little bit of glue just along the join, that's fine. It's going to make it more sturdy. So then this one, and again the set square to make sure that it is at a right angle as you want. Okay, so they will cure. Try not to move them in relation to the angles. So that is the lower decks, because that will fit on once that's cured. Once the lower decks is on, once the lower deck's on and in place, we'll then start fitting the side supports, and then also the side sections as well. So we'll wait for the lower deck to cure, and then we'll come back to that tomorrow. Once that's all finalised, we can then start on the decks, which are issues number 12 to 14. We'll get those in place tomorrow. Hi guys, so now the frames are all in, what I thought I'd do is just fit the mast housings. So if you remember, these went into the keel, so the numbers 14 and 19. So here we are, so we're in the keel. So this is the first section or second section from the front, so, and that would be number 14, so that would fit into there like that, and as you can see, it forms a little square which the mast will later slot out into. The next one, number 19, exactly the same. It will fit in to the slot on the keel, and make sure that goes all the way down, and then that will be number 19. So those will be glued in place today. Make sure that they do go all the way to the bottom, as per the frames. So when the mast goes in, they are going to be perfectly in place. Okay, so they're glued in place, and they will harden overnight.